of the Bible, a scholar of Shakespeare. He speaks 15 languages. He's a scholar of Holocaust literature, and a brilliant, brilliant guy. So we are honored to have him here tonight. And so without further ado, I will turn it over to Professor Williams, who will set the film up for us.
I think my voice will carry. Can you hear me? Yay. Yay. All right. It's wonderful to have you here and to be here myself. Is there any in the audience who's been my student? I know there are one or two at least. Lovely to see you. Thanks. Come on back and recapture the rapture. That's true of all of you. Let me tell you for just a second how I became involved in this film. And this honor of being involved in the film is as much of an amazement to me as to anyone. Chris Farah, this brilliant man over here, was my student when he was an undergraduate. And then when he graduated, he went on in Near Eastern Studies. And he worked with me in two of my courses. He was a section leader. He's fine. He really is. And then he went away, sort of disappeared. And I saw him only once when I went to Santa Monica to give a lecture. He appeared, and I thought that was very nice of him. And then, in 2008-9, I received an email from him saying, "Professor Williams, I've written a script." And I thought, well, how clever of him, because I thought he was a student in Near Eastern Studies, and they don't often write scripts. And he said, would you do a part in it? Right? And I was very busy that term. I was teaching 5 courses instead of the usual 2. It was a very heavy term, eh? And so I wrote him back and said, why, Chris, how lovely of you, but I can't possibly commit just now. And then he wrote me again. And then he wrote me again. And you know how it is. After a while, I'd kept him dangling so long, I was embarrassed to say anything but yes. And so I did. But you know, I thought that he was going to turn up. And this was the image I had in my mind. With a handheld camera and someone by his side. And then he showed up in Ann Arbor with a producer. I thought, oh, this is interesting. Right? And then he showed up from Hollywood with 70 people, sound crews, light crews, camera crews, makeup. The makeup was important for me. And I thought, oh, this is something, and in fact it is something. And they shot in Ann Arbor for 2.5 months. And let me just put in a bracket for a moment. A student was in the office, name of John, not Jeremy, John. And John spread himself out in the chair at one point and said to me with all his worldly wisdom, Mr. Williams, life is a cabaret. And I said to him, well, no, not really, John. In my experience, life is a ricochet. And isn't it, though? You meet someone, you have an experience. I have Chris as a student, then he works with me. He goes off to California years later. Boom, we bump into one another again, and life takes a deflection and takes you on deeply interesting routes. And so it has been for me with this film. Absolutely marvelous learning from all of these people. The actors were grand with me. Chris needed a father professor here who is unwittingly overbearing. And I'm Canadian. What can I say? How do I do overbearing? Chris would say to me, don't be so nice. And I would say, but I'm Canadian. I can't be not nice, you know. And so they took me in hand and tried to form something of me with the results that you'll see in the film. It's visually a marvelous film, sonically and beautifully paced, I think. And there won't be a dry eye and a Michigan head by the end of the film. But it's not only Michigan, it's It's in many ways the lives of all of us, and the story, a coming-of-age story, in which a young man tries to get out from under his father's shadow, a father who doesn't understand how very much his expectations are cramping the life of the lad that he loves. And, oh, give away a bit of the... He finally makes it, all right? And it's wonderful. They sing the victors at the end. So why don't you meet the director, writer? Come on, Chris.
So can you kind of tell why I cast him? Maybe slightly cinematic presence, perhaps. I really just want to get started with the movie. I do want to thank everybody here. Jonathan Lax, it's hilarious. He says, "I apologize to the people who are sick of me for the last 6 months." Well, he's been riding me for 2.5 years before I even shot the movie. As a matter of fact, I got a call from him saying, "We want the movie in New Hampshire." Well, look at the work that you did. Congratulations. Although if I had known that they served beer at the theater, it would have been a much easier decision. Huge thanks to my family for being here. That means a lot to me. The whole theater, everybody. So let's get started. Let's do it.